It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Riles. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Riles. WCPT. WCPT.
This the coldest sports show. You were getting the hour from 6 p.m. to 7. Chillin' with Lauren Cox and the man Marvelous. Shout out to Mr. Riles and the Italian style. You what sports is the only politic.
WCPT. WCPT. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Riles. It's the freshest radio show in town. Feeling marvelous, I've been with Jerry Riles.
I first say, would you rather lose pretty or win ugly? I think that we'd rather win ugly.
Is Nick Foles the answer? You know, we're going to see once they get out on the field and start putting it together on the offense. But the inconsistency of Trubisky over these last few years, it's just, even in the year that we had a great run, what you saw, I think, last year was the inconsistent offense, wasn't producing. I thought the play calling was very pedestrian.
My mother would whoop me if I was lying once a day, once a week.
Welcome, everybody, to the Rewind Sports 60 on 8:20 a.m. This is the fastest hour in sports conversation, and I am joined by my esteemed panel, Dan Marver, Marvelous One, and Jerry Riles, the amazing Jerry Riles. How are you guys?
We're doing good. What's up, Lauren?
What's up? I'm your host. I'm Lauren Cox, and we want you guys to join in the fastest hour of sports. Call us at 773-763-9278. Again, that's 773-763-9278. We want to hear from you guys, and you can also check us out on Facebook. We are streaming live at The Rewind Sports 60. So I want to get right into it. It was a hell of a game last night. Dan Marver, the Marvelous One, I know you were all over it. What are your thoughts on that amazing upset last night?
You mean the Northwestern over Maryland?
Not quite.
No, I thought that the Dodgers were going to be one win away from winning the World Series when morning broke, but the Rays rallied in the ninth inning and won the game, so it's 2-2, so it's best of 3 now. But I was actually enthralled by the Big Ten. I mean, there were three big upsets. Rutgers won, and Purdue, and of course Indiana with big wins. But of course Ohio State, Michigan, and Wisconsin held serve. But I thought that the Northwestern win over Maryland was a little surprising because they really had a strong offense. They have a graduate transfer quarterback who was at Indiana, interestingly, and his first name is Peyton, so maybe they got something there.
Okay.
But in terms of the NFL, I mean, the Bears are 5-1. It'll be interesting to see if when we come in the air next week, hopefully they're not 5-3 because they got the Rams and the Saints. So
that's right.
Those are 2 tough games, followed by the Titans, of course. But be that as it may, I mean, this is really going to test them, and I guess we'll get into some of that as we progress here today. And don't forget, it's almost the 100th anniversary of radio coming up. I read this. In 1920, the first commercial station was, I believe, November 2nd. Isn't that interesting? 1920. So,
cool.
So we should celebrate that, and then we'll have daylight time, of course, ending at the same time. So
See?
A lot of stuff going on. And 2 months till Christmas.
And don't forget about a little election that may be coming up very soon.
I'm done. I don't have to listen to those stupid ads anymore.
Well, you still have to hear the stupid ads.
No, it was funny. In my polling place, they had a stick ad for a state representative that wasn't even in our district.
What?
I'm not kidding you.
It.
There were 2 ads for Jan Chankowski, who's in a different district than the one Brad Schneider represents, which is my district. So I thought that was quite interesting.
It's getting hot and heavy.
Somebody didn't get the memo.
No, absolutely. And I have to bring in the amazing Jerry Riles. Jerry, talk to me a bit about that game last night.
Unbelievable, Lauren Cox. Unbelievable.
unbelievable. It was a sportsgasm yesterday. It was a sportsgasm yesterday. And for those of you who are not really familiar with what a sportsgasm is, it was yesterday fun-filled from top to bottom, from 11 o'clock a.m. all the way until the wee hours of the morning, so to speak. There was sports televised all across the country. It was fabulous. It was phenomenal. It was outstanding. It was dynamic. It was exciting. It was exhilarating. It was just a hell of a lot of fun. And unfortunately, there always has to be a winner and a loser. But in most cases, the teams that I was supporting, they were winning. But Lauren?
Yes.
Unbelievable game last night. Game
Crazy.
4 of the World Series between the Tampa Bay Rays and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Unbelievable finish.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I'm actually jealous.
Because
They have fans, and that's what I live for. I live to go to games.
Yes.
You know how many games I go to usually.
yeah, you really pack them in, no question about it. But what were your thoughts on the finish of that illustrious game? 2 outs in the bottom of the 9th inning. The congratulations and credit to the Tampa Bay Rays for the way that they continue to scrap and fight back. But the Dodgers, they scored pretty much all of their runs with 2 outs. With 2 outs in the inning, and you thought that they were on their way to, take a commanding 3-1 lead in a best-of-7 series, but the Tampa Bay Rays, and that's why they're there, they've been scrapping all year long, 60-game season, but they've been scrapping all year long, and unfortunately for the Dodgers themselves and for their fans, the 2 miscues, but I was screaming like and no offense to women, but I was screaming like a girl last night. It was unbelievable, Lauren.
Well, I was screaming like a girl too, because I that game was just, like you said, you just absolutely thought everybody thought that they would be up 3-1, and there was a change in plans. But what I am most interested in finding out is how they're going to respond, because they talked to them a bit after the game, and they said, we're an experienced team, we're not going to let this rile us, we've put this behind us already. And you think about Tampa, and it's like, okay, how are they going to react? Obviously, are they going to be energized? Are they going to, is it going to be a hangover? Like, what is that effect going to look like? And I just can't wait.
Yeah, I mean, the Dodgers have more familiar names because they've been there so often, but they haven't won the series since the 80s, isn't that right?
Yeah, 88.
Yeah. So, I mean, they may end up not winning this one, too, because Tampa's a scrappy team.
They are a scrappy team, and it's unfortunate for the Dodgers to have the miscues, and back-to-back miscues in the bottom of the 9th when it was the most costly. And, of course, Will Smith, he's got to be beside himself, and because Muncie's relay to him at the plate was right there.
Yeah.
And he thought it was going to be a bang-bang play.
It was a good sweep tag. Too bad nobody was there, including the ball.
Well, exactly. And that, you saw Dave Roberts in the dugout. It was just exhilarating. And for me, as far as the Dodgers are concerned, because you're right, they've been there numerous times.
The preceding program, the Rewind Sports.
We're on the air.
That was the fastest. You're not kidding about the fastest hour.
We're still on the air. We're still on the air. Wrong computer. But we're still on the air. But yeah, it was Dave Roberts in the dugout. His reaction, it was fantastic. But you go from thinking that we got this, and again, we're taking a commanding 3-1 lead and get Clayton Kershaw in Game 5 to finally bring it home. Whatever the case may be, as far as the Dodgers are concerned, they continuously, year in and year out, run up in front of some roadblocks, whether it's the Cubs when the Cubs win the series, or, of course, the Houston Astros with their cheating, and now what's going on with the Rays. So I'm pulling for the L.A. Dodgers. One particular reason is the fact that Magic Johnson has ownership in the Dodgers, and I want to see him have the success that he so desperately, I think, is well deserved. But
Right.
You're right, Marvelous.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't won the World Series since.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
I mean, after today, they have to travel back to Los Angeles. So, I mean, we'll see what happens.
You're crazy,
This
man.
has got to be their year. This has got to be their year.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It's Allendale and Arlington.
You're crazy, man.
L.A.,
But they
L.A.,
do it.
L.A.
Right.
Well,
But
that's the only other thing.
Sure.
I'm not. I understand and I feel, but it's going to be kind of bittersweet for me if the Dodgers win.
because you got that bum and those Lakers that win the NBA title, and now the Major League Baseball.
Right.
Yeah.
You know,
But those cities, I mean, Tampa won the NHL this year. And maybe Tampa will be strong in the NFL if Brady gets it together, but he lost today.
Yeah, did they lose?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was 23-22 or something like that. Something
Yeah,
like that.
so,
I don't know. It was, hey, as far as the NFL is concerned, and we're going to be talking with Bruce Herron, our weekly contributor as far as the Bears are concerned. They are off today. Why? Because they are on Monday Night Football taking on the Los Angeles Rams, Lauren. Woo-hoo. And, wow, this is a big, big game. Bruce Herron will be joining us to help break down that huge game. And, Lauren, you tell me all week long. We've been hearing on Sports Talk Radio, we've been watching on the sports shows on television, whether it's locally or nationally, that this 5-1 Bears team is not really a really good 5-1 Bears team.
Exactly.
What have you been hearing? What are your thoughts on that?
So I have on my Bears shirt today.
Go Bears!
To give them some extra love, attention, and everything else, because they're going to need it for that game tomorrow. You know, and that's the thing with them. I look at their record.
Right.
I want to believe their record. I look at the defense. I believe the defense, but I'm just not as confident as I would like to be heading into this game.
Why?
Because it just seems like they don't have it together. They don't have it together. The defense is good. Foles is up and down. Nagy's play calling is, I don't know. The run game, they don't have it together. And they're playing a team that does have it together. For coaching, you know, the quarterback, Jared Goff is doing well now. The defense is stellar. They got the two good wide receivers. They have it.
Right.
We don't have, what do we have?
We got a stellar defense.
Right?
We got a stellar defense.
That's not enough. Where's the offense?
Well, it is enough. It's a simple fact that we have a 5-1 record. Lauren, think about this. If our defense was suspect.
You a Bears fan now?
Well,
you want to get on the Grady train?
I've always been a Bears fan.
We're 5-1, and now you want to be a Bears fan?
I've always been a Bears fan.
When we were 2 up, and I was telling you, come on, but now you want to. Are you a Bears fan now?
Of course, I'm always a Bears fan. But I'm always but guess what? Hey, Lauren, guess what?
Yes.
Listen to this. You want to see how much a Bear fan I am now for this 2020 season?
Yes.
The Bears will beat the LA Rams tomorrow on Monday Night Football. They will beat them. Listen to this. Listen, no, that's not what. Listen, that's not the punchline.
Guaranteed.
Well, take it easy now.
I want to know how they gonna beat them. Go ahead.
Easy now. Take it easy now. Listen, they will beat the Rams tomorrow. Okay. They will beat them on Monday Night Football. Lauren, listen to this. Are you sitting down? Are you sitting down?
I'm sitting down. Got my wig on tight. What?
That a girl. The next two opponents, the New Orleans Saints and the Tennessee Titans, the Bears will take you.
Okay.
They don't handle business. Now what you want? Now what you got, Lauren? How you like me now? They beat the LA Rams tomorrow. The Bears will beat both the New Orleans Saints and the Tennessee Titans.
You heard the bold prediction right here on the Rewind Sports.
I want to mention one thing before the phone lines light up. The GOAT did win 45-20 today before somebody calls in and corrects me.
45-20?
Yeah, right.
Congratulations to him. The
Las Vegas.
Las Vegas Raiders. That was another game that I was kind of like, because
it was 24-10, and they outscored them in the second half. That's why it looked pretty dubious for a while.
But
Who's doing it?
And Lauren, I truly believe the reason that the Bears, they get past on the national stage against the Rams, and you talked about all the weapons that they have, but this defense, they know that they have to carry this football team. They know that they have to carry this football team. I believe Nick Foles.
That's what I was going to ask you. What is Nick going to do?
I believe Nick Foles will have enough gumption, if I can say that. I think he'll have enough wherewithal. And we heard the soundbite as far as he was fantastic. He was fantastic in his post-game press conference last week.
Well, I first say, would you rather lose pretty or win ugly? I think that we'd rather win ugly.
That's it. We want to win ugly, and we're going to win ugly, but I think he's going to be pinpoint on as far as targeting his receivers and making connections.
Pinpoint?
I think so. I really believe so. But it's all predicated, in my opinion, on the play calling of the great Matt Nagy. Right, Lori Lightfoot?
Is Nick Foles the answer? You know, we're going to see once they get out on the field and start putting it together on the offense. But the inconsistency of Trubisky over these last few years, it's just, even in the year that we had a great run, what you saw, I think, last year was the inconsistent offense wasn't producing. I thought the play calling was very pedestrian.
That's going to be very key as far as the Bears' success, not only tomorrow night against the L.A. Rams, but moving forward. And again, I truly believe this Bears defense, barring any injury now, let me say that, barring
don't
any
even put
injury.
that in the atmosphere.
Right, don't even put it out there. This Bears defense, they will hold it down. Now, Lauren, marvelous. And we're going to bring on the great Bruce Heron in a couple seconds. I swear to you, I pray to God all the time. And I'm praying to him again on the Rewind Sports 60, WCPT 820 AM. Lord Jesus Christ, my Savior in heaven, please, thank you for football. Thank you for baseball. Thank you for basketball, even though the Bulls won it and the Lakers won again. I'm sick of that.
Hey,
we got to do something about that.
LeBron and that
I'm not thanking. No, Lord, I can't thank you for that one. I can thank you for MJ, but I can't thank you for that one. Well, Lord, please, will you have the officials call a respectable game? Lord, will you have the officials for the Bears and the Rams game call a respectable game? Kyle Fuller is playing lights out defensively. He's knocking people's blocks off. And every time he hits somebody hard, a legal football play, Lord, they're throwing flags.
I know.
I'm sick of that.
You can watch other games. I watched some today where the same kind of hit is called the other way, or even on the quarterbacks. It's inconsistent.
It's inconsistent. Yeah. It's poor. It's terrible, and it's taken away from the game. A game that we've been desperately waiting for because of this darn virus. We finally get, and the officials are stepping away. Get them out of the way. Let the fellas play football. Kyle Fuller, rock the bells. Welcome on the DR60 hotline. You love him, ladies and gentlemen. Number 51 in your program. He's number one in our hearts. He's on the Rewind Sports 60, WCPT 820 AM. He's the great Bruce Heron. What's up, Bruce? How are you?
Yes, sir. I'm doing good. How about you guys?
Good.
Great.
Good.
Hey, man.
Good.
Hey, man. Lauren has helped me become a true Chicagoan and a true Bear fan again because we have a 5-1 record, and I'm on the bandwagon. Are you with me, Bruce? As far as my prediction, the Bears will knock off the Rams in Monday Night Football, and with that victory, they're going to handle business with Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints, and they're going to take care of the Tennessee Titans. You with me, Bruce? No. You're not supposed to be laughing at me. You're not supposed to be laughing at me.
Hey, listen, guys, listen. The Bears defense are gonna show up and they are gonna act a fool. And I'm telling you, they're gonna kick some ass tomorrow.
Oh boy!
You know what? The defense has found they found out something. They found out something about themselves. And what they found out is that if they can get out and set the tone of the game, the offense will follow. I'm not worried about Nick Foles, man. Nick Foles is going to be Nick Foles. He's going to do his job. It's just that we've got to get our running game straight. We get that running game in order, and I'm telling you, I'm looking for them to improve this week. I'm looking for them to improve drastically. And so they do that, they're going to be just fine. But the defense, don't have to worry about the defense, man. I mean, they handled the Rams before, and you know what? And they handle them like champs. And so tomorrow night, it's going to be Bears. Trust me.
No, I hope you're right. And, you know, we played the soundbite from the great Lori Lightfoot, our mayor here in Chicago, and God bless her and her administration for all the heavy lifting that they're trying to do to protect people, despite the fact that some people don't want protection. But she said last season, you know, that Matt Nagy's play calling was somewhat pedestrian. And we still see, even despite a 5-1 mark, that Matt Nagy has fallen in love with himself and his plays. And true enough, you expect the players to go out and execute. Their job is to go out there and execute. But you, in my opinion, you have to put them in the best position to be able to execute. And he admitted this past week that he's made some mistakes. But for the life of me, and Marvelous, check out the score of the Kansas City game. Le'Veon Bell, who was out there on the market for a hot second, gets picked up, signs a 1-year deal with the defending Super Bowl champions and the best quarterback in the league, that, of course, Patrick Mahomes, and Andy Reid utilized him as a running back to keep the defense off balance. But the Bears and Ryan Pace didn't even entertain the idea of going after Le'Veon Bell. They won't give the rock to the kid, David Montgomery, who they got out of Iowa State. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. So the defense, it's all on their shoulders. But I agree with you, Nick Foles. He's got to be put in a position to be able to execute effectively in order for this team to have some success.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with you. And I think there was some play calling snafus last week with the play calling from Matt Nagy. But Matt Nagy is a competent head coach and a play caller, and he understands that he calls some plays that he probably should not have, considering the results. But to be truthful with you, Matt Nagy is going to call a hell of a game. And I just, you know what? I'm a great believer in this Bears defense, man. This defense they've come alive, and I really think that they're gonna come out to play tomorrow night, and they're gonna put some whooping on the Rams. And I'm telling you, man, I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a hell of a game. The Bears are probably going to win by 7, at least. And you know what? And the Mayor Lightfoot, I tell you what, I love that lady, man. I'm telling you, she's superior, and she loves football. I met her personally last year on the field when the Bears had all the alumni out, and I met her on the sidelines, and we took a picture with her. My wife and I, and we had a great time with her. She's just a fantastic person, and she loves her football. And so, if she says the Bears are going to kick butt, the Bears are going to kick butt.
Guys, this is Dan here. I wanted to give Jerry that score. The Chiefs won 43-16, so Mahomes is now 6-1. Although Deshaun Watson isn't doing so good, they lost to the Packers today.
Right.
But here's the thing.
The Packers.
I know. But here's the thing. How's our defense going? I think we're going to see a lot of passing from the Rams, probably, and our running game. Is it going to improve? Those are the two questions I have: defending the Rams' pass and improving our running game. Those are two keys, I think. How about you guys?
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right, man. The Bears have got to get their act together with the running game. That's something that they have to get. They have to fix. But you know what? Our defense, man, we've got one of the best defenses in the league. And as long as our defensive rush can get in there and force a pass when the quarterback is not trying to, not trying to take his time and pick and choose receivers, they got to force him. And I think that they will do that. Khalil Mack is a leader of that damn defense, and I'm telling you something, man. I'm looking forward to Khalil Mack getting in there and showing up. The
Rams.
The Rams, and I'm just in awe with the way that they're playing this year. So I'm a big believer in what these guys are going to do, and I'm pulling for them 100%.
We just have to be able to outscore them. That's my only concern.
No, that's everybody's concern. Yeah. But for whatever the reason the case may be, the Bears all season long have been scratching and clawing and coming away with the victory after 60 minutes of work. As far as Khalil Mack is concerned, we're on with the great Bruce Heron, number 51 of your Chicago Bears. Played back in the day for 5 years over on the lakefront with the greatest of all time. May he rest in peace. That, of course, Walter Payton. But Bruce Heron on our TR60 hotline. As far as Khalil Mack is concerned, Bruce, he is questionable right now as far as the scouting report is concerned. They said he's got a bad back. I don't think Khalil Mack is going to be. I don't think he's going to miss any action as far as this game is concerned, because it is played on the biggest stage. No question about it.
Absolutely, man. Khalil Mack is a stud, man. He may be a little banged up, but a banged up Khalil Mack, shoot, man, I'd rather have him than probably 90% of the pass rushers in the league right now. So,
Hey, Bruce, Lauren here. So I hear you guys talking a lot about the defense. The defense, I mean, that's a known. We all know the defense is stellar, but my concern is the offense. And so specifically the wideout play, rookie wide receiver Darnell Mooney, he's quickly becoming a steal for the Bears. He's 18th. He's got 18 catches, 196 yards. He's really starting to gain Foles' confidence. Talk to me about the wide receiving play as well as the tight end production, which needs to be there on the offensive end.
Yeah, you know what? I really think that they've got to utilize their tight ends more. They've got 3 tight ends, man, that are serviceable. I'm telling you, Komet is every week we see him getting better and better. And this kid is a ball player, and I love the fact that the Bears went out and got him. The wide receivers, I'm telling you something. They've got talent, man. The Bears do have talent. It's all up to Nick Foles to put the ball in play and to put these guys in position so that they can be successful. And I really think that that's going to happen. The play calling tomorrow night is going to be key. But we need them to execute on the ground game. That ground game has got to come into play in order to keep the safeties honest and on the defensive front for the Rams. That the Bears they've got enough talent to go in and take this thing. And I think tomorrow night we'll see exactly what they're going to be doing. But if they can get their ground game going. They will be successful tomorrow night. So I'm looking forward to it. It's just a matter of getting out and believing in yourself and getting it done.
Yeah, I understand that, and that's great bulletin board material, Bruce. That's great, rah-rah speech. That
Jerry,
stuff
you're
is
killing me, man.
No, dude, Bruce. I'm trying to be real. This is real sports, real talk, just plain real, and I'm trying to be real, man. And the reason I put it out there like that is the fact that it sounds fantastic. Lauren is absolutely right as far as the receivers are concerned. How effective can Nick Foles be? And the Bears need to establish the running attack. But Bruce, you played the game at the highest level. The Marvelous One, myself, Lauren, we've been watching. Our listeners, everybody that's tuning in on the Facebook and YouTube, we've been watching this sport. We've been watching this game. And we know the game.
What do you know?
The game is won and lost in the trenches. And when we look at the offensive line of the Chicago Bears, it don't look like we gonna win, man. It don't look like we gonna win. And no offense to those guys, but that offensive line of the Bears, listen, God bless Nick Foles. Because if I got hit half the times that he got hit, I'd be on a stretcher in Mercy Hospital, and they're about to close Mercy. That offensive line, brother, they got to come ready. They got to bring their lunch pail and their Howard hats and play for 60 minutes. Because if they don't, it's going to be a long afternoon for that Bears offense, brother. What do you think?
All that if stuff you're talking, Jerry.
Yeah.
That if stuff is going out the window, man. The Bears are going to come ready to play.
Okay.
Man. I'm telling you, they're going to come ready to play. You just, let's sit and watch. And you know what? After the game, you need to call me so I can tell you. Jerry, I told you.
No, hey, you can do what our good friend Henry Hackney does. He calls me up during the game. I go, Henry, the game is on. We're trying to figure out the game. We're trying to watch the game. He calls, I can't have a conversation. I'm watching the game. You call me at halftime, but you can't call me during the game. I can't do that, man. No.
Oh, man. Don't blast Henry, man. Henry's my bud, man. Henry knows what he's talking about, dude.
I love him. He's the best. He's outstanding. So are you, Bruce. So your prediction as far as this Bears game tomorrow against the Rams, it's big time. It's all the lights are on, man. You think the Bears got a victory?
Yeah, 27-20, man.
My man.
27-20. Bears win.
Bruce, I have to ask you, where did this confidence come from in the Bears? Because, in the beginning, your friend Jerry Riles, you guys dogged the Bears from the beginning. The record doesn't really reflect what's going on, and you just were so unsure, and you're just so confident and sure today. So what changed for you?
Well, what changed is the fact that the Bears haven't played their best this year, and they're 5-1. They're 5-1. And you know what? If they haven't played their best, but just imagine the Bears coming out and playing their best, what they can do and what they can be. You know, and that's where I am. I mean,
like
even
it.
without playing their best, they're 5-1. So you can't knock that. You can't knock that. They're tied for the division lead. I mean, you look at Detroit, how they won today. I mean, in Minnesota is, I don't know what's happening with Minnesota. Minnesota is just a shell of what they were a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Cousins is what happened in Minnesota.
Damn.
Right, and then Green Bay proved if you put pressure on Aaron Rodgers, you can kick their butts. Tampa Bay, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
You know, and so the Bears have the talent to do it. It's up to them to go out and execute. And you know what? I feel really confident that they will. I really feel confident they will. Yeah, you know what? Let's get to the game tomorrow night, and then we'll talk after. so I can tell you I told you so.
There you go. Hey, Bruce, it's always a pleasure, man. We're going to spring in and let you enjoy the rest of your Sunday evening. And we want to say hello to your fan base who are continuously and steadily growing week in and week out, supporting the great Bruce Aaron, brother. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, guys.
Stay safe. And, hey, man, we got you 27-20 on record. The Bears over the Rams, Monday Night Football, brother.
27-20, baby.
You got it.
Bears. Go Bears.
There you go. We'll talk to you, Bruce Aaron, on our TR60 hotline, ladies and gentlemen. Joining us every week on the Rewind Sports 60. Bears, normally after a Bears victory this 2020 season, but they're on Monday Night Football, so we get the preview in there, and the great Bruce Aaron say, hey, it's a lock.
Right. But, I mean, you were mentioning the offensive line, and against the Panthers, it ranked very poorly. I mean, I guess the group was, Leno, Coward, Whitehair, Fetty, and Massey. I mean, you don't hear much about the linemen usually, and it's really hard for me to judge them because
why?
You know, because the results.
Aren't you watching the game?
The results.
I just told you, Nick Foles has got his brains beaten in. If it were me, I'd be at Mercy Hospital on a stretcher, laid out in the hallway because he's getting.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not taking anything away from the offensive line. But they're not that good.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're supposed to also create openings for the running back, aren't they?
Yeah.
That's another part of their job.
So they're not that good.
Yeah. So maybe do they need replacements, or how do we solve that?
Replacement? This GM Ryan Pace just paid half. I think he paid the entire offensive line. Well, I think we're stuck with them for the next couple of years.
Okay.
This has been a reoccurring problem for. How many years have we been talking? No,
too many years.
This was a problem.
No.
You said
too many years.
Yes, too many. Absolutely.
I couldn't get it out fast enough, Lauren. Too many years.
I know. Yes, and if we all see it, you see it, Dan sees it. Why haven't they done anything? I mean, honestly, it's better than it's been in some years.
It is.
I think so. Are
you kidding me?
The Jay Cutler days. Oh my gosh!
No, that offensive line wasn't that bad. No. You had Kyle Long, you had Cody Whitehair, you had some decent guys up front trying to protect. That was a different issue. That line was better than the line that we currently have.
It's been a problem for years.
That's
Sometimes
true.
I don't know if Foles is making it look a little. Well, it was looking bad early.
So here's the deal, as far as the offensive line is concerned, and you said it. We can see it. Everyone can see it. To make the offensive line look good, the pressure is on the shoulders of Nick Foles. The entire pressure, as far as the offense is concerned, is on the number one focused athlete on the field. That, of course, the quarterback. Mm-hmm. He definitely needs to manage the game to the highest of the highest. He needs to, when he's passing the ball, and we know we're going to be passing, 60-70% of the time. He needs to make sure that the ball is out of his hands between 2.4 and 2.5 seconds to be effective. He needs to make sure that he is on point as far as moving this offense down the field. And we know that they're capable of doing that. Now, the important thing about that is the fact that once the ball is released in 2.4, 2.5 seconds at the most, he's got to make sure that he's accurate on his target. And more importantly, or as important, his receivers, whether it's Mooney, whether it's Robinson, whether it's Miller, or whether it's Graham, or whether it's Kmet, they have to make sure that they're running effective routes and they are in position where they're supposed to be to make sure that the play is executed properly. If one of those three components or one of those components break down, it's going to be a long afternoon for the Bears or a long evening for the Bears. But Nick Foles, it all starts with him because that offensive line, they're not going to produce. They can't. They simply aren't that good to be able to produce at the rate that we need them to produce at. So Nick Foles is going to have to pick up some of the slack and be effective as far as passing the ball is concerned. Now it comes down to the play calling as far as Matt Nagy is concerned, because if you're effective enough in calling your plays and your players can go out and execute, this is going to open up hopefully the opportunity for David Montgomery to get a handoff every now and then, because we know we're not running the ball. Yeah. But once he touches the football, you'll keep the defense honest if he can pick up 4, 5, 6 yards a pop.
Hey, Jerry, isn't this partly Pace's problem? He's drafted exactly 2 tackles in his 6 seasons, and neither one has played a single play for the Bears.
He's terrible.
Yeah.
He's terrible. He's a terrible general manager. He is terrible.
Okay.
Well,
Lauren, you just said it.
Obviously, some people don't see it. How many years has he been here?
6.
Okay.
Lauren.
No.
You said it. If I can see it, you can see it, he can see it. If we can see that these guys aren't good, we can see this. And we're not new to this sport. We can see this. There's something wrong with the player evaluation. There's something wrong with the scouting.
I mean, the glaring issue, obviously, is the Trubisky
pick.
It's
glaring.
So how much time does he have? I mean, is it heat on him this year? Because you could tell it was when he tried to bring in Nick, which still wasn't a stellar plan, in my opinion, or move. So is the heat on him? Is this a do or die year?
It should be, but as long as the Bears continue to win, they have a 5-1 slate. I just told you, they're going to win that Monday Night Football game. Bruce Heron just told you, they're going to win 27-20 against the Rams. They're going to improve to 6-1. Okay. They're going to be knocking on the door as far as the Seattle Seahawks record is concerned in the NFC. As long as the Bears continue to win and progress, Ryan Pace is going to look like a hero.
It's reminding me of the Le'Veon Bell thing with Quentin Spain of the
Quentin
Bills.
Dimps.
Quentin Spain was available. He's a
what?
A guard from the Bills. He released him, and we didn't sign him either. Like we didn't sign Bell.
Yeah.
So
I simply, and here's the deal. And Quentin Dimps, our fearless leader on the Rewind Sports 60, we miss him dearly. I called him. You heard his intro. He put that together. But Quentin Dimps loves Ryan Pace.
Yes.
He loved Ryan Pace because they were together down in New Orleans. Ryan Pace, I believe, is a good guy. I believe he's a really good guy. But that doesn't make him an evaluator as far as talent is concerned in the National Football League.
Oh, please.
We saw what happened with the White Sox and Ricky Renteria. Mm-hmm. He's a nice guy.
Yeah.
He's a great developing guy. But he's not a manager on the highest level as far as baseball is concerned.
You know what Leo DeRocha said?
And let's play 2. That was Ernie.
Nice guys finish last.
Yeah, nice guys. And the Sox didn't want to finish last, so they got rid of the guy. Listen, this is just my theory.
It's business.
It should be business, but it's poor business. It's poor business as far as the Bears are concerned. Yeah. And I do feel for Matt Nagy, because I'm sure he looked at this thing, and of course, they don't want to say it. They don't want to reveal it. They don't want to put it out there publicly. But I guarantee you, Lauren, he's looking at this. Matt Nagy he said, what the hell am I going to do with this? But in the public's eye, these guys are great, and they have to execute, and we're doing great. And he goes, what the hell is this? This guy, he's full of... Remember, who was you remember the Bears' worst player? Mike Ditka said that he was the worst player ever.
Who's that?
Stan, what was that? The lineman?
Oh.
You remember? What was his name? Stan. I can't think, but it'll come to me. He said it was the worst ever. Mike Ditka didn't hold his tongue. He didn't bite his tongue. He said, this is the worst.
We know that. Don't we know that?
Yes, we certainly know it firsthand.
Right, when he hung up on us.
Stan Thomas. Thank you. Thank you, Devin Tingle, our great producer. Stan Thomas. He said he's the worst football player, the worst I've ever seen in my life. Ditka didn't pull any punches. These guys, they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you.
He can't do that.
What do you mean he can't?
He can't. He's saying it as much as he can, but he can't come out and say these players suck.
Why?
Because that's totally inappropriate.
It's inappropriate for us to have to sit there and watch this crap.
Yeah. Hey.
Lauren, listen. Nationally, the guys who played the sport at the highest level, the Michael Irvins and the Louis Riddicks and the Troy Aikmans and all these guys who played,
yes,
they look at it and they say, these guys they're not good. This offensive line that the Bears, they say this. They're not good. But for some reason here in Chicago, we can't say it. I see it every week.
We can say it. Oh, you guys say it.
But they can say it. They can say, hey, you know what? Jay Leno Jr., you're not playing well. Jay Leno Jr., you're not playing well. You stink. Robert Massey Jr., you're not doing well. You guys, you stink. You stink. We deserve better. You got rid of Jordan Howard to bring in this David Montgomery, and then you don't use them.
Don't bring it up. So through 6 games, the Bears ranked 28th in yards per game, 28th in rushes per game, and 26th in offensive DVOA. So.
Is that an arrest warrant?
DOA dead on arrival?
Sounds like it.
Did you say DOA dead on arrival?
Pretty much. That's what it sounds like. Why are we so bad?
Let's name the defensive stats. It's the opposite.
Oh yeah. They're in the top 5, if not the best defense. The defensive side of the ball, I love them for the simple fact that they're like, hey, you know what? We only can hold up our end of the bargain.
They got to hold the other team under 20.
These guys are flying around, whether it's Roquan Smith, whether it's Robert Quinn, whether it's Trevathan, whether it's Akeem Hicks, and he is the anchor of that defense. Right. Whether it's Khalil Mack, whether it's Kyle Fuller, whether it's Eddie Jackson, whatever the case may be, whether it's the rookie Jalen Johnson, the defense, they say, we got this. We are playing football, and we are going to knock the living hell out of whoever is coming our way. And again, I pray to you, Lord. I love you. I love you. Show some love this way. When Kyle Fuller puts a hurting on somebody, Lord, please, don't have the officials interfere with it. Don't. It's a football play. Let them knock the living hell out of whoever has got that ball.
Hey.
Turnover. I'm sorry, Lord. I didn't mean this. I didn't mean to use that word, but you know what I'm talking about.
Oh, Lord, make their flag be stuck in their pocket. Oh, Lord.
Lord, because it's hard. And God bless Kyle Fuller because he said, hey, man, I'm going to continue to play football. In this presser earlier this past week, he said, hey, I'm going to go out there and continue to play football.
Yes.
It's a football move. It's a football play. I take my angles. I do what I have to do, and we get results. I don't want the officials stepping in and taking away any of that because what they're doing also, not only taking away the play, but they're taking away the momentum of this defense. And that's what they do. They fly around. They get energized. They get that momentum, and they want it to spill over onto the sideline, their sideline, so that the offense can say, hey, you know what? We need to get out there and play. You don't like that?
I mean...
So do you think we're going to win Monday night?
I got my shirt on. I got my Bears shirt on.
She didn't answer. I have my doubts, personally, but nobody asked me.
Well, we're asking you now.
I think they can win as long as they keep... the Rams to 3 scores or less. I mean, I think the Rams will be able to score at least 3 times, and any more than that, they're in trouble.
3 touchdowns?
Yeah, 3 maybe. Could be a combination, even of field goals. That would under 20 would be nice, 20 or under, because I can't see the Bears scoring more than 20 because they haven't very often.
Well, don't you think that this Bear defense is going to take some pride into this football game, and they're going to...
But as good as they are, I mean, the Rams are going to score a couple times, obviously, I would think.
Yes.
Yeah, so we'll see.
Yes. I'm concerned about this game.
Really?
And I was always concerned about this game, even before the season started. But now I'm even more concerned, and everybody, the Bears have this momentum, and it's like, if they let me down, I'm going to have a drink in here next Sunday.
I was personally concerned by week 7 if the game would be played. I mean, that's pretty good, too.
That seems to be kind of,
that's the one thing I'm
mellowing out a bit.
And again, I said we just experienced a great sportsgasm on Saturday because of all the college football that was taking place, and of course there was even golf going on. And there was boxing. I don't even watch. I mean, sometimes I watch MMA and the UFC, but I mean, there was all sorts of sports, and then of course the baseball game to take it over the edge. But I am happy, ecstatic, and elated that the fact that we do 7 weeks of football on the National Football League level, but we pretty much have a World Series champion ready to crown in the next couple of days or whatever.
Right.
I didn't think that we would get to this point.
Mm-hmm.
No. I really didn't.
They were smart to do a bubble for the playoffs. That helped.
Well, I mean, they learned from the NBA and, of course, the National Hockey League.
Right.
And, of course, before we're out of here, if you want to join us, our number is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT.
And the NFL may do the same, by the way.
They need to.
Yeah. Well,
especially going into the second wave.
Right. I mean,
things seem to be pretty good this week.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Big Ten's concerned, they have no domes, and their season's going to be in the second half of the.
It's amazing.
The weather gets a little.
Did you see the end of the Penn State-Indiana game?
Yeah.
What did you think of the play?
I mean, I don't know. You can touch that cone, the marker,
right?
But what if you're out of bounds?
Well, that's the whole point with that call.
I know. It looks like he's out of bounds to me.
So, well, here's the deal. The
unless his leg be above the chalk. I don't know. It was pretty close.
It was the ball and hitting the marker,
the cone, yeah,
right. But that. The line, the end zone line, it goes to infinity. You know that.
Okay, yeah.
It goes to infinity. So you could be airborne and you cross over with the football.
Right. But I'm talking about his knee on the sidelines.
No, but it was the ball. He had gotten the ball.
Okay.
The question from my understanding was when he placed the ball down, did he place it down out of bounds first before it hit the cone? Or did it hit the cone first before it touched out of bounds?
Okay.
Or was it exactly at the same time?
That was the ruling, but I was wondering if his knee or his buttocks were out of bounds. It was pretty close. Well,
no, the closeness came where the ball touched the ground.
All right.
That's where the closeness came in at, and that's what the controversy was. Did he get the ball? Because if his butt or his knee or whatever touched the ground before he was able to extend the ball, there's nothing to discuss, and there's nothing to review.
Right.
The fact was, he placed the ball right at the cone, but also at the same time, it was touching out of bounds, and that was the question. And if you're Penn State, that's got to suck.
Yeah, well.
That's got to suck. Let's go out to Roosevelt, who's calling from Chicago. Roosevelt, welcome to the Rewind Sports 60. What part of Chicago you calling from, buddy?
Midway Airport area.
Sounds good. I love Midway Airport. Went to school down the street at the great St. Rita High School, Midway Airport. I love it. Southwest Airlines, that's a great way to get out of here.
Yeah, they're going to United.
Okay.
O'Hare.
Hello,
sorry.
everybody.
What's on your mind, Roosevelt?
Okay, my question is this to anybody. Is it just me, or since we had Greg Olson, we used to have a lot more plays for the
tight end.
Tight end. And now that we have a legitimate tight end, Jimmy Graham, I remember when the Bears used to play against the Saints and the Bears used to play against the Panthers, and they would use them a lot. So I've noticed that since we had Olson, the Bears don't use the
tight end.
Mm-hmm.
The tight end.
Yeah.
So is it just me, or am I just
No, I think it's a great call. Thank you so much, Roosevelt. Keep listening to the Rewind Sports 60. We appreciate you calling. But from my opinion, I think the Bears don't utilize the tight end effectively in the past few years the way you would other teams have used them. We see what the Kansas City Chiefs are doing with Kelsey. We see what the San Francisco 49ers have done. We've seen the Carolina Panthers over the years. Once Greg Olson left the Bears and he teamed up with Cam Newton. Incidentally, Cam Newton was benched in the New England Patriots game.
Yeah.
So some Bear fans will say, see, that's why we didn't need him. But I agree with you, Roosevelt. I don't think the Bears utilize their tight ends effectively. And I got to disagree with you as far as Jimmy Graham is concerned. He was a sensation during his peak years. When he was New Orleans, he was a sensational tight end, but I think he's He's not as effective as he once was.
They gave him a good contract. They should better use him. And if they can't, then let's see Cole Kmet.
Well, here's the deal. As far as utilizing Jimmy Graham, he's pretty effective in the red zone. And that's a problem that the Bears have had over the past few years, scoring points in the red zone, not just getting 3 points, but getting touchdowns. Jimmy Graham has proven that he's more effective in the red zone, and he's an asset as far as Nick Foles is concerned. Cole Kmet, I agree. The kid, you need to get him out on the football field, in my opinion. If you get Mooney out on the football field, and he's projected to be a superstar on this next level, I think with not the pedigree, but with the resume of Cole Kmet, from St. Viator to Notre Dame to the Chicago Bears, I think you utilize that kid. I think and that's the whole thing as far as Matt Nagy's offense is concerned, is modeled after the Kansas City Chiefs and Andy Reid, who uses his tight ends effectively, hence Patrick Mahomes loves them. The Bears need to do the same thing as far as Cole Kmet combination Jimmy Graham. What do you think?
That's what we talked about when we had Cole Kmet on the show when he got drafted, was how important that tight end play is, specifically looking at how the Kansas City Chiefs won and then the 49ers, as you talked about. So, I mean, we've all said it multiple times, that has got to be something that is seriously looked at and perfected. From Nagy's standpoint, we talk about it all the time, the tight end play. And what are they going to do with Cole Kmet? Take the wheels off, let him ride. He's going to be the key, one of the keys to our success. And we talked to him about that when he was on the show, when he first got drafted.
Marvelous.
I agree.
You on vacation over there?
I agree totally. I just want to make sure before we forget. I don't want anybody to miss our show next week. You know, if you don't change your clocks, you're going to turn us on, and it's going to be on 5 o'clock, and your clock's going to say 6. So don't goof up, and don't eat too much candy.
Don't goof off.
Don't goof up while you're not eating candy and not trick or treating. In my town, they got signs we're going to put up that say with a mask over the pumpkin.
Oh my gosh.
We're not participating. I wanted to put that in. So I like Cole Kmet. Come on, I agree. He should be used more often. In answer to your question,
there you go.
I was dreaming of a white Christmas in 2 months.
Oh my gosh! You haven't even had Halloween. You're already at Christmas.
And they snowed tonight.
Yeah, you're absolutely.
It was in Denver.
Exactly, it was. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, make sure I got on my voting mask. Get out there and vote. I already voted. The marvelous ones, I voted.
Vote like your life depends on it.
Lauren, hey, girl.
Because it does.
Yeah, it does. Hey,
the lines weren't that long. You know, if you get there before the closing time, they must take you. By the way, that was my strategy. No,
so
however long it takes. Yeah.
Was it a long line at all, or it
wasn't
not
too bad?
Yeah.
How long?
It took me about a half hour, then
that's
maybe
not
40
bad.
minutes.
Oh, that's not bad.
But that's the key. If you get there before they close, they have to take you.
Good, and they should.
And that's when the lines are the shortest.
That's good. Yeah. Hey, listen, and you know what?
So now they won't be. Now that I said
that. For that tip.
Hey, listen, everybody, you have your choice. If you're a Republican, make your choice. You're a Democrat, make your choice. If you're neutral, make a choice. But just choose the right guy. That's all I want you to do.
My mother would whoop me if I was lying once a day, once a week.
Yeah, don't choose the lying guy. Just choose the right guy. That's all you have to do.
Please.
So don't be out there lying. Don't do it. Listen, the great Barack Obama. The great Barack Obama. He's. I love the guy. I mean, I just miss listening to him. He's unbelievable.
Yep.
And it's finally, I mean, every time this guy speaks, it's like, remember when they, All in the Family? Those were the days, and you knew where you were then. Yeah.
Days like Herbert Hoover again is in there too.
Well, yeah, but hey, listen. Get out there and vote. Seriously. It's important. And Barack said when he ran for president, I think the second time, 61% of people who were registered to vote came out. Yeah. He said, wouldn't it be wonderful if we got 70% of the people to get out there and vote. 75% of the people to get out there to vote.
80.
It
Get
might
out
be.
there and vote because it needs to be, because we've already have over 50 million people who've mailed in, including yours truly. Get out there and vote, ladies
You
and
mailed
gentlemen.
it in. You trusted the mail.
You know when the
I
highest,
actually went.
you know where the highest
I actually, and Devin Tingle said he's voted as well. I actually went to the library, the Wheeling Library, in the great Wheeling, Illinois. I dumped off my ballot there. My daughters they voted down in Champaign.
Are you sure it's a real mailbox? Because you know they was putting some phony mailboxes
I
up.
took pictures and everything.
In California, they set fire to one.
Thanks to the beautiful, lovely, talented, outstanding Lauren Cox. Hope your mom is doing well.
Thank
and
you.
of course, the marvelous one, Dan Marver, the outstanding producer, Devin Tingle. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another edition of the Rewind Sports 60 on CTT 820 AM. Check us out on Wednesday, Comcast, Channel 17, Channel 19, Channel 35 on the RewindSports60.com. Take care, everybody.
Welcome, everyone, once again to another edition of the Sports Medicine Update. It's a weekly podcast with yours truly, Jerry Riles, and, of course, the Honorable Dr. Chad Pedromas. Doc, how are you?
I'm doing great, Jerry. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I was enjoying the warm temperatures that we had here in the Chicagoland area the past couple of days. But, of course, it is Chicago. It is the fall. The temperatures have dropped. The rain is rolled in, and we have to get prepared for the cold temperatures. And unfortunately, the hawk, as they say here in the great city of Chicago, the winter. But for the most part, physically, I'm feeling fantastic. Mentally, I'm still, I'm who I am. But of course, it's always a pleasure and an uplift to get an opportunity to talk with you weekly on the Sports Medicine Update.
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. Actually, I have a satellite office in Naples, Florida, and I'm down there now. So we come down for the weekend and see some people. And gosh, it's just, I shouldn't say this, but it's nice and sunny, just good for the soul.
Well, soak up some of that good sun and some of that great heat for me as well.
I'll bring some back.
Well, you know, Doc, let's dive right into it because we got a lot to digest and unfold here. You know, the National Football League, the NFL, they're heading it already into the 7th week of this 2020 season during this COVID era, this pandemic, and we've seen some cases around the league, particularly even the Chicago Bears had a stint where one of their practice players tested positive for the virus, but we've seen some other teams, the Tennessee Titans, just to name a few, that have experienced some sort of the virus, and they're bouncing back in the protocol as far as the owners are concerned and as far as the commission are concerned, are trying to stay on top of this. But for me, it's just surprising that we have reached week 7 in the National Football League without any really severe or major cases. Your thoughts before we move on?
My thoughts are that, as I've been saying pretty much every time we discuss this, that it doesn't surprise me at all. I think things are fine. I think on all fronts, they're better than generally advertised. Therapeutics are doing great guns. You know, President Trump bounced back immediately. He had remdesivir. He had the antibodies. And what he had is not everybody can get. It's available, remdesivir. It's FDA approved. The antibodies hopefully will be soon. Many people feel the virus is attenuating, just getting weaker on its own. Death and hospitalization rates are down. So people report cases, but they shouldn't talk about cases. They should talk about deaths and hospitalizations, which are definitely down. And then finally, I was actually on the radio just yesterday, and the subject of the vaccine came up. And, you know, one thing that I didn't realize that people didn't quite really know is that, so there are thoughts, well, is the vaccine going to be good? Well, if the vaccine is safe, and I'm sure it's going to be safe, and there may be more than one, it's definitely going to be useful for this reason. People have said, well, it may not be 100% effective. It's not going to be 100% effective, but it doesn't have to be 100% effective to be useful. For example, flu vaccine. Flu vaccine in 2018 was only about 36% effective. Next year in the 40s. So you don't have to eradicate the virus. You don't have to have everybody be immune. But what happens is if you get, if there's 4 people in a room and 2 of them had it and they can't get it, that decreases the spread by 50%. And there's a thing called the RT or the R0, which is how quickly it spreads. All you need to do is exert significant downward pressure on the number of people that have it, and you drastically slow the virus. Because everybody has to get it. They have to get the vaccine or they have to get the virus. Not everybody, but enough people to bring herd immunity. So I think the vaccine, I've heard naysayers out there, and people don't trust it because President Trump's may endorse it. But the thing is, it's not about President Trump. It's about the scientists. This isn't coming from him. And people should look at it. But, the FDA and the CDC, they're not going to let anything out there. In fact, they have a threshold of 50%. I almost think maybe that's too high. But my point is, the flu vaccine gets a minority of people, and nobody says don't do the flu vaccine. So I think the vaccine is imminent. The high-risk people should all get it. It's the equation for them safety-wise is through the roof toward the positive. So anyway, I think things are looking good.
Well, hopefully things will be getting better, but I do know the National Basketball Association, the NBA, and Adam Silver, they're questioning the upcoming 2021 season as far as the number of games that they may be able to get in based on the numbers regarding the virus. Now, it's projected that the league is going to tip off December 21st of this year, December 25th of this year. That, of course, Christmas Day, but they're talking about playing a 70 or 72 game schedule based on, and I know you talked about the cases are not as important as the actual hospitalization and the aftermath as far as what this virus, tracking it is concerned. But the NBA are saying, based on the numbers, we've got to prepare ourselves, but we also have to protect our players. And right now, and it just came out, that they're looking to start the season December 25th on Christmas, but also, again, condensing the schedule right now to at least 70 to 72 games. And that can change as we move toward the end of this 2020 season. So the pro teams are looking for, and I know the National Hockey League are also, taking precautions on when they're going to start their season as well, because typically under normal circumstances, Doctor, we're in the preseason as far as the NBA is concerned and the National Hockey League is concerned. And really, we're at the start of the regular season because we're pretty much done through the month of October, which is really when these particular leagues start to get underway for their season. So we're definitely keeping watch on that and keeping tabs. And hopefully, as you stated, that there will be some type of control and we will be able to stabilize the numbers as far as this virus is concerned. But the leagues right now are siding on the side of caution, trying to protect their players. And kudos to the National Basketball Association for getting the players down in the bubble and getting through this. And congratulations to LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers on their NBA title. And, the World Series is underway. So there's a lot going on in the world of sports, Doc. But I hopefully, as you stated, the scientists are on top of this, people are being responsible, and we can get better control of this, and hopefully a vaccine is just around the corner sooner rather than later. But I did want to get into as far as what a lot of our viewers and a lot of our listeners are tuning in to the weekly podcast about, and that, of course, sports injuries. And you're here to help people better maneuver themselves as far as athletics are concerned, whether they're playing on the professional ranks, the collegiate ranks, high school ranks, or just the amateur athlete who's out there grinding on the weekends. In the National Football League, we know that the past week or so, a couple weeks ago, the starting quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, suffered a severe ankle injury, and many of the outlets did not want to show the video, the footage, and no pun intended, because the ankle of Dak Prescott, when he was tackled, he held his leg up, and his ankle was literally completely turned around facing him, Doctor, and it looked excruciating, and it was just a devastating injury. But did you have an opportunity to see the play, and can you educate us on the type of injury that Dak Prescott suffered when he twisted his ankle backwards?
Sure. So it's an ankle dislocation. and I've seen these. I've seen them on the sidelines, and you can actually just kind of the ankle part of it you can pop back into place. The thing so when the joint dislocates, ligaments tear, and in the ankle it's not the same significance as the knee. It's a terrible injury, but the ankle is a much less complicated joint. The thing that he also had is what's called a compound fracture. Actually, compound's kind of older terminology. The newer terminology is open, but it means that the bone broke above it, and I don't know the details. Probably the tibia, maybe the fibula, maybe both. There's a big bone and a little bone in the leg. And then compound or open means that not only did the bone break, but there's bone sticking out through the skin. So this is a compound fracture dislocation. Now, actually, energy is dissipated into a joint or a leg, and if you dissipate some energy into the ligaments where the ankle dislocates, you generally dissipate a little less into the bone. So all else equal, the bone injury might not be quite as bad. But it brings to mind, I think the worst example of this that I've ever seen was Joe Theismann, who in 1984 or 85 suffered a compound tibia and fibular fracture. So he didn't dislocate his ankle. He broke the bone in the leg as Dak Prescott did, both bones. And the other person, of course, was Alex Smith, who did the same thing. Broke both bones in the leg with bones sticking out through the skin. So the worst part about these injuries is that broken tibias and fibulas and ankle dislocations generally heal, as we say, uneventfully. They're painful, they require aggressive surgical treatment, but the hooker is the open part of it, because open fractures or compound fractures have a greater propensity to infection. And Dak Prescott already had one stage of his surgery. I'm not sure exactly what they did. Sometimes they'll put a plate on right away, sometimes they'll delay, but definitely clean out the wound. The unfortunate thing, Alex Smith got an infection in his leg, and worse than an infection, he had an infection in the leg, which is bad. I mean, Tom Brady, for example, when he tore his ACL, unfortunately had an ACL reconstruction complicated by an infection, which is a pretty rare event. It's a 1 in 100 event after an ACL, and then he had to have repeat surgery, which fortunately did okay. So that infection was treated, was fine. But in Alex Smith's case, he not only got an infection in the bone, and bone infections can be quite severe. He got what's called sepsis, which means the infection got into his blood, and that's why there was all the talk that people read about. He was in danger of losing his leg, had I think 17 surgeries, and even in danger of losing his life, because the bacteria get into your blood, it can be deadly. So and he's back now too. Joe Theismann, interestingly, came back the following year, and as I recall, and don't hold me to this, but as I recall, he failed his physical the following year, and it would have been about a 2-year fix. The tibia is the slowest healing bone in the body because it's a big bone, and it doesn't have a lot of muscle around it, and you get the muscles around it provide healing tissue. So he failed his physical, as I recall, his first year back, and I think perhaps would have been able to come back at a second year, but at that point, as I recall, he retired. Alex Smith was a 2-year fix. So the question is, will Dak Prescott be a 2-year fix? And I guess, the timing is so strange now. So I'm just thinking to myself, if he went down in October, so, next year if things are back on track, even if it's a 1-year fix, if they're starting again in July. So I don't know. The chances, the ankle dislocation, and that's the thing that looked so gruesome to people, because the deformity in Joe Theismann's case was from the bone being broken, Alex Smith's too. The main gruesome looking deformity in Dak Prescott's case was the ankle being dislocated. That should heal. He will probably lose a few tenths of a second off his 40 time, so I don't want to minimize it, but generally those heal pretty well. So if the bone heals okay and isn't complicated by an infection, and open fractures have a greater propensity for something called a delayed union or a non-union, which means that it doesn't heal in the usual time frame, and you have to go back and put bone grafts and do other stuff. So he will probably heal, and I don't know how old he is. I think he's under 30, isn't he? So he's motivated. I think he'll heal. I think you know, with the complications, Joe Theismann, when he went down, I know that people said he probably won't come back, and of course Alex Smith after what happened, although he is back. So I think he will probably get healed enough to play if his course isn't complicated by infection or something else like that. And you know, even if it is, the techniques are so good that you would expect that he get back. Now, you know, in a reasonable world, you'd say, well, gee whiz, you're going to get that injury. You're going to go back and play NFL football? And the prudent thing would be say, man, I don't think so. But these guys, being who they are, what they are, they're super competitive, super conditioned, I think he's going to want to play. If I had to put money on it, I would say he will get back and play. The more, you know, uncertain thing is how long will it take? And I would think that it's likely that it'll be season after next that he comes back. If everything goes smoothly and as well as it can, you know, he's got a plate on or a rod. I'm not sure what they did, probably a plate. He'll probably be in a situation where the ankle's coming around some and the bone looks pretty good. But the issue always is if you come back too soon. Troy Aikman, as I recall, had a clavicle fracture and came back and I think re-broke it, you know?
Right.
And nobody did anything wrong. It's hard to say. So, you know, will he be back? I mean, let's say the NFL's on schedule. Will he be back next July to training camp after this? I don't think so. Will he be back by midseason? You know, maybe. But I sort of think it's likely that he'll come back. I think it's likelier and probably be good for him to take, you know, the extra year and come back 2 years from now in good shape.
Yeah, well, you know, there's all sorts of, you know, prognostications out there and doctors saying this, that, and the other, and it's very, you know, suspect because you, like you say, you really don't have a clear-cut answer on the process and the return. But they're looking for, as you mentioned, the possibility of Dak Prescott being able to recover in a year's time and possibly getting back out there on the gridiron. Dr. Chad Prodromus, the Sports Medicine Update, a weekly podcast, Jerry Riles. I got to ask you regarding the layperson, the average athlete, the amateur athlete who's out there, you know, maybe they're doing an Ironman competition, or maybe they're training for, you know, a marathon, or maybe they're doing some weightlifting, clean and jerk, or whatever the case may be. Or maybe they're out there just playing 16-inch softball here in the Chicagoland area, 12-inch around the country, or, you know, maybe some flag football of the case, and they sustain a devastating injury, maybe not to the point as severe as Dak Prescott because he's playing a professional sport, a very violent sport on a professional level. But what do you say to those individuals who may, you know, suffer a severe dislocated ankle or break a leg where the bone is penetrating through the skin? We talk about Alex Smith and how important and vital it was for him to get treatment as quickly as possible because of the infection and the potentially losing his leg and God forbid, thank God, his life. But if there's an athlete out there maybe, you know, working out and sustain some sort of injury, what is your recommendation of getting it taken care of in an immediate fashion?
Yeah, well, the worst injuries tend to be in football. And the answer there, and, you know, in the early years of my career, I was team physician for lots and lots of high schools, colleges, some professional work. And the answer... So, you know, standards have changed, but there are some places that would require paramedics and an ambulance to be on the scene. But one way or another, in a case like that, you know, people are getting an ambulance right away. If you're the team physician on the field, you go out, you try to stanch any, you know, bleeding that might occur, and you just get them. You get them to the hospital. The paramedics are so good, and the emergency rooms are so good that you know, you just have to make sure that that's accessible. Actually, you know, as gruesome as these injuries are, because you see obvious deformity of the leg, it's bending in ways that it shouldn't bend, the immediate prospects of a problem are probably less. I was taking care of a college I used to take care of, this goes back 20 years, and there was an athlete who fractured his femur. And so the deformity was not as obvious, but he ruptured the blood vessel and lost a dangerous amount of blood. He recovered okay, but there was a blood loss issue. Knees can dislocate. The Bears tight end who had a real good couple of years. Help me out on this now. Zach?
Not Thornton.
No.
Keith Jennings, not Emory Moorhead.
No, 5 years ago, just before the guys they've got now. I think I can't believe I can't remember his name, but he was.
He was not Greg Olson.
No, I'm wanting to say Zach Martin, but that's the guard on the Cowboys. So I'm drawing a blank here.
Oh, Trey Burton. Trey Burton.
No, before him. Horrible injury. Terrific. It took him a while to get on the field. Had a terrific year. Terrific pass receiver. A gruesome injury. Ligaments. But the point I'm getting at is
it wasn't Trey Burton.
Before Trey Burton. Before Trey Burton. The years just before that. He was the last. He was the tight end immediately before the guys that they have now. And I think his first name was Zach, unless I'm losing it here. But I can't. I'm blanking on his last name. This is maddening.
But he sustained a knee injury. I think it was in the end zone, and he came down, and his leg like buckled or so. And
it looked gruesome too. You could see it, and it bent sideways. I don't remember exactly, but the point I'm getting at is that you can, if you do that, if you tear enough ligaments around the knee, you can rupture arteries and you can damage nerves. I believe he had nerve damage from what I read. I'm not sure about the circulation, but the thing is, those injuries can result in amputations if they're not recognized. So they don't always look quite as gruesome. His did, but I've seen ones that didn't. So the further up the injury is, the bigger the artery and the worse the problem. So femur fractures, knee dislocations. So not a kneecap dislocation, but a knee dislocation where you tear 2 or 3 ligaments are immediately much more dangerous for loss of the limb, because if you have the artery at the knee is kind of tethered, and if the knee dislocates, it can be ruptured. And if you rupture the artery and you don't have circulation, it doesn't take very long for that lower leg to just kind of die. So the moral of the story is these are pretty catastrophic injuries, though. So they're not the kind of thing anybody's going to try to walk off anyway. But the moral of the story is, if you're years ago, I used to take care of some semi-pro teams. Actually, in fact, they were the predecessors to the Arena Football League that started in Chicago. And these guys, good athletes, and they'd be out in these hard fields and just getting injured, and they wouldn't have medical care. But if you're playing football, really any sport, but especially football, you just have to make sure that you've got rapid access to paramedics or an ambulance. So you get that taken care of right away, get to the emergency room, and in general, things are okay.
Hey, Doc, real quick, when you talk about long-term effects, and we're speaking again on the professional level, but there are a lot of people that sustain these sorts of injuries. The recovery process with technology is incredible. I can remember back in the early 2000s in the national championship where the Ohio State Buckeyes beat the Miami Hurricanes in triple overtime, I believe. But Willis McGahee, to start running back for the Hurricanes, got his knee busted up. And at the time when it happened, I looked around and told people it was sad and disappointing because, unfortunately, this young man who is exceptionally talented, his career on the next level has ended. But lo and behold, with technology, he has been able to, he recovered from the knee injury. The surgery was a success, and he went on to play a number of seasons in the National Football League as a running back. Talk about technology and the advancement from even the early 2000s to where we are today.
I will, but before I do, I have to tell you, the tight end, Zach Miller.
Zach Miller, exactly.
Sorry. Zach Miller. He was the guy, and it ended his career, so I don't know if I think he probably formally retired by now. But anyway, so yeah, the differences in technology are, many of the techniques for trauma are similar to what they were. So Alex Smith had something called an Alizaroff, an external fixator, where they stick all these pins in the leg. It was actually developed in Siberia, but this has been out there now for 25 years. But there are more tools than they used to be. There are nuances. We have terrific implants, plates, nails. We're smart about washing wounds out. We've got good antibiotics. The truth is that the big sea change in technology in this whole field occurred actually about when I was starting in practice, which was 1985. And so arthroscopic, minimally invasive surgery, ACLs were just kind of getting going then with modern techniques. So in a nuanced way, we're better than we were. But I've been doing the same ACL procedure for, 1993. How long is that? 25 years. And you get great results with it. Not a whole lot has changed. The trauma surgeons are really good. But during that period of time, there were tremendous advances in implants and knowledge. And I'm trying to think of an area now that you bring it up, an area where we're dramatically better sports medicine-wise now than we were. And not to say that we're not better, because we are, but Gail Sayers, the late Gail Sayers. So that was a time when things were really different. He hurt himself in 68, something like that, and the athletes back then. So there was a sea change in the 80s for knee injuries, which was huge. Arthroscopic shoulder surgery has allowed us to do things that we couldn't do. Although it's interesting, as I mentioned to you, we were talking about Jalen Johnson, the Bears cornerback, who, by the way, is doing great with his shoulders. So is Anthony Miller. We were talking about how these guys both had multiple operations, and I was hoping after these two they'd be done. And it looks like they're doing well. But shoulder dislocations, it's kind of an interesting topic. Recurrences were a bit of a problem then, and they still are. So, I think that there was a sea change with the advent of arthroscopic surgery and some of the techniques we have then. But I think that in this millennium, people hurt at the beginning of it, did well, like they do now.
Hey, Doc, real quick, we love your insight always and the knowledge that you bring regarding sports medicine. Before we say goodbye here, long-term effects. Most people, and I'm sure these athletes that sustain these severe injuries during their playing careers, we look down the road and we've heard many stories of athletes suffering, from stiff joints and arthritis and difficulties and just living a regular lifestyle, moving and, bending. Is there any improvement in that area with athletes who have sustained these types of injuries, and anyone who, may have broken a limb or whatever? Is there any, light shed on, your 50s and 60s and missing out or avoiding arthritis and stiff joints and all of those things as ailments that come with getting older?
I think that it depends on a couple of things. People are definitely at increased risk of arthritis. This has been studied in sports in general, that it's good for your health. But if you're a competitive football player, if you're a competitive female soccer player, gymnast, you just kind of get banged up. A sea change that's occurring here, and it's a central part of what I do. I'm not the only one doing it, but is the area of what we call biologics. So I do a lot of work with platelet-rich plasma, as you know. I do a lot of work with stem cell treatments, and that's a controversial area. So people get arthritis, and often the paradigm is to take pills that suppress pain, nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, get injected with cortisone, which I think is not a good way to go. If you do that, the thought is that you're eventually going to need a joint replacement, so you suppress pain until you do. What's happening right now, which is a sea change in the field, is that we are getting very good results with again, platelet-rich plasma. It's kind of popularized. Kobe Bryant, late Kobe Bryant had that done, went to Germany, but now it's readily available. We do a lot of it. We do work with what's called mesenchymal stem cells, some safe stem cell work. I don't want to overplay what it does, but I have lots of people who come into us with second opinions for joint replacements, and their joints just aren't that bad. And we get them off of all drugs and use these things. And again, I'm not the only one doing this. Hyaluronic acid's another thing. It's a pharmaceutical that helps. And we keep people going for a long time. I think that the older paradigm, and I encourage people get better when they're not taking drugs and when they're not using cortisone. So I think the whole joint preservation issue is definitely come to the fore in a way that it didn't before. So that I think is the biggest change that's going on.
Well, Doctor, thank you so very much. Very informative, very knowledgeable as always. Thank you so very much. If anyone want to hear your beautiful voice, or they want to find out just some more information or how they can handle any injuries they may sustain, God forbid, or prevent any injuries they want to avoid, how do they get a hold of you? How do they get in contact with you?
Our office phone is 847-699-6810. There's an email, ortho@ismoc.net, where you can find out a lot more information and email us questions.
And of course, you get a live voice on the other end, correct, Doc?
Yeah, that's right. No phone banks for us. I'm old school. You get a live, knowledgeable person that'll help you.
Awesome, Dr. Chad Padroma. It's always a pleasure. Enjoy your stay in Naples, and we look forward to talking with you next week on the Sports Medicine Update, the weekly podcast. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Take care.
Matt, when you took the job and you were trying to establish a lot of things you wanted to establish, not even just on-field stuff, how much of an asset was Akeem Hicks to you?
Yeah, I think that having Akeem, I didn't know him personally when I got here, and then right. you get to meet a guy like that when he's here, and he's in a good way. He's a big personality, and he's a very opinionated, which I like, and he's a leader, and he's somebody that when I need to get some advice or ask a question in regards to the pulse of the team or where we're at, he helps out. And then it's the same thing in regards to, throughout the season, in season, off season. So it's nice to have a lot of guys like that on your team. They're leaders, and, he's a vet, so he has that experience to be able to help me out with that.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Matt, wondering about the dynamic between you and Coach Laser. Obviously, different personality, but the head coach, offensive coordinator relationship, is it different just because of you being in the league a little bit longer and learning how that role should work, and also just because Bill's a different guy? I mean, just what that dynamic's been like through 6 games.
What do you mean by he's a different guy?
Well, I mean, he's different than the offensive coordinator you used to have.
Oh, okay. I got you. Yeah. I thought you were throwing a jab at him for a second. No, he's done a really, really good job at being able to lend me a hand in regards to another set of eyes of his experience in this league. He's been doing this for a long time in this league. He has a lot of great experience. He does a really good job in the room in regards to he's a really, really great teacher, And so there's a lot of times that I'll go to him and ask for what he sees or his opinion. And I think the good thing with Bill is, he's been in this role as an offensive coordinator where he's called plays as well. And he's been in a system for a while too, where he's done things the same and different. So it's nice to be able to get different ideas and opinions on things. And for us, I feel like early on, it really has been really good. And we're just continuing to kind of grow through this process as we go.
Pat Finley.
Hey, Matt, when you see some of the streaks that Nick will go on, completing 8 or 9 in a row, do you adjust your play calling to try to take advantage of that? And is being streaky a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, I think it's all based off of, that streaky can happen to so many different teams and offenses and players in so many different ways. And when you take it into our situation, when you can get into a rhythm, I think the rhythm is more important of a word than streaky.
Okay.
To streaky to me might sound to a point of it's really good and then really bad. We don't want that. We know that it's important to have a good rhythm. That's what we're trying to get after. Now, the streakiness of, are we running the ball well for 8 out of 10 plays, or are we throwing the ball well for 8 out of 10 plays? That's what if he's quote unquote in the zone throwing it and he's streaky, we're going to continue to do that as long as he's feeling it, but to stay balanced as well. But Nick and I are both kind of learning through this process as to when he gets hot and how he's feeling on certain plays and when we roll with those.
Cheryl Ray.
Matt, I don't want to have you have to knock on wood or anything like that, but what does it say about your staff and the players under these unbelievable circumstances that remain pretty much healthy at this point?
Yeah, knock on wood is right. It's been a good thing because I think everybody from the get-go is taking this thing extremely seriously, and they understand that not only is this a different year health-wise with the hamstrings and the common colds and the normal injuries, but there's a whole nother element to this thing. And not only that, Cheryl, but this is an every single day process. So every day you got to wake up and take that test. And there's a time that you got to get in there to do it. Every day you got to wear your mask. Every day you got to make sure you're following protocol. And so all of that becomes kind of the norm. And they've done a great job with that. Coaches, players, everybody in the building. And the rest of that too, I think, is a credit to our strength staff and our training staff with Andre, Jen, and Jason, making sure that they're taking, it's the prevention side of it too.
What's the say about the fact is, because these numbers are going up with COVID, and we're seeing it, especially in Illinois right now, that you guys are still being able to maintain the proper protocol?
Yeah, again, I'll say this too, Cheryl, is on the front end, whatever the protocol was when we first got started, if it was 6 feet that you had to keep distance, we were close to 20 feet. So now that they're saying, hey, let's do this or let's do that, we've already been doing that, which I think has helped us out. Our coaches and players and everybody in the building has stayed consistent with the rule of, hey, always have your mask on. And even if we're being annoying with it, just be annoying and wear your mask.
Jason?
Matt, did Hicks seem okay when he showed up today? Is he lost 20 pounds or anything like that? Are you going to take any precautions with him traveling with the rest of you guys?
No, yeah, he seemed fine today. I'm sure that at least he seemed like it out on the field. And then as far as the precautions, whatever Andre and those guys say to do when he's on that, I think we're under more precautions right now with the COVID than we are probably even of his common cold. So, but to answer your question, he seemed really good.
So he's on the plane then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mark Potash. Hey, Mark, we can't hear you there, Mark.
Yeah.
I'll come back to you. Pat, go ahead.
At the risk of asking a vague question, what is the next step for Foles on Monday? Is there one or two things specifically that you want to see improve?
Let me think here, Pat. I would say for Nick, it's probably it's me as a play caller, him as a quarterback, us as an offense, being able to get off to a fast start and keep that fast start type deal, and then just across the board. I mean, there's so many different elements to the offense, of whether it's the run game, whether it's protection, whether it's the details of what we're doing with the routes, and then whether it's play calling, all of that, putting that together, and then scoring points. I know it's been a while, and we're having this 40-point outburst or 30-point, high 30s type deal. But again, in the end, I'm just going to always go back to the credit to our players is we're finding a way to win. At certain times, they're making plays. So I think there's just looking for a little bit more probably consistency.
If you get that fast start offensively, what does that do for your defense?
It helps them a lot. It helps them because, number one, if you're getting a fast start, you're usually moving the chains and you're keeping the defense on the field a little bit, or our defense off the field for a rest. But then if you get the lead, you score points. Now the team becomes a little bit more one-dimensional, and now they can pin their ears back, and that's where you become more opportunistic. And so that's where we want to live in that world a little bit more. We got to that point last week in Carolina, getting up 14. but we haven't been up more than that to where you can really make a team one-dimensional.
Just a couple more for Coach. JJ?
Hey, Matt, this is going to sound like an extremely Saturday question, but did you happen to see what Mike Vrabel did at the end of the Titans-Texans game last week with his clock manipulation? And just like what level as a coach do you have to know the ins and outs of the rule book to potentially pull something off like that?
Yeah, I did see what Mike, what Vrabes did. I saw that, and I didn't study it or get into it or spend a lot of time on it. I just saw that there was a lot of attention to him doing that, and it helped them. In regards to the rule book, there's so many rules; it's impossible to know them all. And there's a lot of times where I have to ask, our rules guy within our staff of what the rule is, because they do change a lot, and there are a lot of them. At the same time, when you're able to, to know it and be good at it situationally, man, it's such a benefit. And that's where we kind of pride ourselves on some of that stuff. The one that gets me is for me where it is the timeout that I called at the end of last week, right before that 2-minute warning. That still bothers me that I did that. That was poor decision there. But that kind of stuff there is what we try to pride ourselves on, is being smart with the clock, being smart with what we're doing, decision wise. And what he did was really good.
Well, Mark, we'll try you one more time.
You're still muted, Mark.
Yeah, can't hear you, Mark. We'll go to Jason.
Matt, you encountered Foles at such an interesting time in his career when you were with the Chiefs, coming right off having played for the Rams. Did you guys have some conversations about just what a pit that was in his career? And you saw, obviously, it drove him almost to leave the game.
Yeah, we've had some really, really, really close conversations over the years. And that was a point to Coach Reed's credit, giving him an opportunity to come and enjoy where he's at and really try to get back to mentally and physically and come into our environment that he knew from his rookie year. And I think Nick would tell you that was the case. He had a lot of fun that year. He learned a lot from Alex and just that quarterback room in general. So we've had a lot of deep discussions in that. And then to be able to see, that's why I was so happy for him in 17 when he got that Super Bowl is just crazy to think of that car ride we had to training camp together when we just signed him in Kansas City, and then all of a sudden he's hoisting up the trophy as a Super Bowl MVP. So it's an amazing story, and I think he'd be the first to tell you that it's not over yet.
Thanks for the time, Coach.
Okay, see you.
Cordero, you guys got off to a great start last season, and then this is around the time when you started to slide. Do you have a sense that you guys are better prepared to fight against something like that this year?
What happened last season was last season. That's a new season, so we just focus on what's ahead of us, and that's the LA Rams. So we just focus on this game here. So we ain't worried about nothing else, and just trying to focus on this game.
JJ.
Hey, Cordero. I imagine you.
My bad, JJ.
Cordero, you got me?
Yeah.
I imagine you got some pretty good recruiting stories from your time at Tennessee. Anything you want to draw upon to keep up your recruiting efforts with free agents out there?
I don't know, man. I don't do no recruiting, man. They ain't even in my DNA, man. I'm just trying to stick to playing football. That's all I know how to do.
So it's just a coincidence that you were watching Quentin Spain highlights this week?
I don't know what you're talking about, JJ, man. I think you reading the wrong tweets or something, man.
Pat Finley.
Nagy was talking just now about how important it is to get off to a quick start offensively, about how that'll help your defense kind of pin their ears back and all that. How much has that been harped on last couple of weeks? And what do you think getting off to a quick start on your side of the ball would do?
I mean, we just got to help our defense out, man. It seems like offense, we always, starting slow, and defense always, helping us out. So it's time, man. It's time for us to help those guys out, man, and just get out, just going, just starting fast and finishing fast, and not trying to wait till the third, fourth quarter, to put points on the board. So we just got to go out and just do what we do all week at practice. Just go out there and just try to execute everything.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey Cordero, how frustrating is it when the kicker just kicks out of the end zone every single time, like Joey Sly did last week? And did you have an expectation that was going to happen, knowing his leg?
Yeah, man. Watching him on film, man, and seeing what he can do, man, and he can just place the ball wherever he wanted. So, man, I mean, it's not frustrating, man. We got 16 games in the season. It's a long season, so then it's going to get cold, playing in Chicago. So every kick is not going to go out, but if it do, I can't return. But if it's an end of the field to play, they know I'm bringing it out. So they got to just do a good job kicking it out the back of the end zone.
Dan Wiederer.
CP, I was wondering if you could give us one or two of your best Sid stories.
Oh man, it's with the picture I posted, man. And I don't know what game that was, or was it preseason? He was trying to talk to me, and I was just walking away. I ain't mean to walk away, but I was just walking away fast, and he ran me down and caught me, man. So that's one of the stories that always stick out to me, man. And he's a legend, man. And to make it to 100 years old, that's just incredible. You don't see that every day. So, I just appreciate everything he did, and the little radio. He always had that little radio everywhere he went. So he was crazy. He was a good guy, man.
You expect to be working at 100?
No, man. Never.
Pat Finley.
When you guys first came in for summer camp, tell me about the discussions you guys had about voting and about registering to vote and trying to get that message out to people outside of your locker room.
I mean, I'm sure you done seen all the things we done said, man. I honestly don't even want to go back, into all of that stuff, because, it's bigger than that, man. And if we start talking about that, man, we sit here for 35 minutes. So, just get out and vote, man. That's all I can say, man. Just do your part in this world, just to try to be that change.
You doing absentee? How are you going to do it?
That's my business, man.
I didn't ask who you were voting for. Come on.
Sound like you did.
Thanks for the time today, CP.
Appreciate it, boss. All right, y'all.
Being able to seal the last two games, what is that feeling, especially for somebody who hasn't played a whole lot on the defensive side in the NFL?
Well, obviously the best feeling is, that we got the win, and I was just happy that, I was able to perform and do my job at the end to help us secure those wins.
Colleen?
Can you take us through what you saw in the interception last week?
Yes, that happened to be my zone. And those two things that happened, the coverage, the skies before the play was really good by our safeties. And then also the pressure up front, I think, messed up the vision of the quarterback. And I was in that zone and just was fortunate enough to make the play.
Pat?
What sort of statement do you think you guys can make on national TV against a team like the Rams? It seems to be a step up in weight class from a couple of the teams you played earlier this year.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I know we have a good game plan, and we're looking forward to the opportunity to play against, good competition, great competition. And so we just got to go out there and execute, do what we can do, and compete. And hopefully the rest will take care of itself.
Pat, go ahead.
I'll give you one more. When you guys first reported to summer camp, what was the value, or what were the conversations about voting and making sure you guys were all registered? And has that given you an extra added interest in the election process, all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, we definitely did a good job as a team talking about it. I know there's the defensive backs. That's something that we've been talking about a lot, just with everything going on, the importance of voting. And so I think this year in particular, maybe more so than other years, it's just given me excitement and made me want to look more into all that stuff.
Mark?
Hey, DeAndre, sorry if you were asked this before, just jumped on, but just what is the satisfaction feel? This has been a long journey for you, and you've established yourself very well as a special teams guy. But just to contribute as you have, how gratifying is that after the journey you've been on to get here?
No, it's been good. I've been a part of some really good defenses since I've been here. Great high caliber defenses, and so it's been good when I got my opportunity to step in and uphold that standard. And I'm just hoping to continue that as forward.
And I think I know we've asked you this before, but have you ever regretted having that niche? You're growing into that McManus special teams ace thing, which is a nice niche to have in the NFL. But yet I'm sure you aspire, just like they all do, to do more. So is that ever been kind of problematic for you to be in that kind of role?
The way I look at it, whatever role I'm in, I want to be the best at it that I can be. And so, whether that's being the special teams or whatever it is, I just want to be the best football player, that I can be. And I don't regret anything so far in my career. And I'm hoping that as it continues to progress, I can keep trying to get better every day and stay consistent. And hopefully things go my way.
Thanks.
Yep.
Colleen?
I'm just curious, being around Eddie Jackson, him having 2 touchdowns called back this year, do you sense any anxiousness or frustration at all from him?
I wouldn't say anxiousness. I mean, he's a fantastic, great player. And it's unfortunate that those calls obviously, didn't go his way. But I think I know that 3-9, he'll make even more plays like that this year. And so we're looking forward to see that.
Wondered your impressions of the open field tackle that Fuller made on Bridgewater down near the goal line. And then I got to follow up after that one real quick.
Yeah, game changer, It reminded me, remember the one he made in Detroit?
Mm-hmm.
Second game last year down there in the low red. Phenomenal play. That was a game changer. Who knows what happens if you don't make that?
With the hits that he's putting on guys that are getting flags, how do you make certain that his aggressive edge doesn't get dulled by, being a little trigger shy that he's going to get called for those?
He won't, because he's doing everything by the letter of the law. He's their textbook. When you slow him down, and because I think it's impossible to officiate. It's hard on them. It's hard on us. It's hard on the players. And I mean, just playing football, because he's lowering, he's getting his head out of the way. He's using his shoulder. Tampa game, they look at it, they get together and they pick the flag up. We get the ball. This one, it didn't work out that way. It's just how things are. We all know that the receiver feels this hit coming. So he's got himself in the target zone, but by the time the receiver catches the ball and then he braces, he lowers his helmet. So it's just a byproduct of guys playing and reacting, instincts. It's football, but he won't change.
Pat Finley?
Chuck, along those same lines, what sort of edge has Fuller brought in the 2 years you're here? And in your experience, is that unusual for somebody who plays corner versus safety or linebacker or some of those hard-hitting traditional positions?
Yeah, we've all seen corners that make business decisions, when it comes to tackling. Some are just, cat coverage. I got that cat, and you guys handle the rest of this stuff. But he's a physical dude. And I think the expectations in the room and the expectations in Chicago for a long, long time are that, you come and be a part of this group, coaches, players, whatever. We know what those expectations are. And you got to be a Rough Rider. He's a Rough Rider.
Jason?
Chuck, I know you've had a long career and coached so many guys who have been special to you. You've had a few years now with Akeem Hicks. Where is he in that pantheon of players that you have loved coaching?
Yeah, he's right up there. You think of like Haloti, Nada, who we had in Baltimore, just a big physical athletic presence inside that just dominated people and could push the pocket and win one-on-ones and destroy and wreck a run game. He's right up there. His leadership and the way he's playing right now and his focus and determination coming off of last year is really good. And just And I know it's just going to continue to get better.
Can I ask a follow up to that?
Go ahead, Jason.
The snap count that he's played this year, he's played 80% of your snaps. This is a guy who's played 10 years in the league at his size and coming off injuries last year. How is he able to do that so consistently, to play so much of the game?
He's done a great job with his body. He came in weight-wise under what he was scheduled to come in at. So he's doing a phenomenal job. Every time, we walk out of this, I mean, he's in the training room constantly. I know he gets worked on outside of this building. They do a great job. Our trainers do a great job with him, and he's taking care of himself, and he's in phenomenal shape. And then Jay does a great job of rotating those guys and making sure, because going into it, we said, okay, in year whatever, you start getting up there, we got to manage these so we can get you through a whole game. So you can be fresh in the fourth quarter, so we can get you through 16 weeks, get you into the playoffs, and then hopefully get you, to February 7th, the ultimate goal. So he's doing a great job of that, and Jay's doing a great job with that.
JJ?
Chuck, what kind of transition has it been for Roquan specifically in terms of his run fits, learning how to play without Eddie Goldman up front?
I don't think it matters who's up there, because there's going to be times, JJ, that things don't, work out the way they work out on the chalkboard and on the playbook page. Hey, you're supposed to be here and you're supposed to be here. Well, sometimes, one of those guys is going to be aggressive, and he may get reached, and they just play off of each other. And that's where the time on task and the amount of snaps that these guys are playing with each other, the communication has been good, the cohesiveness, the chemistry. So that's always going to be, it doesn't really matter who's playing in front of you. You still got to have the ability and the instincts to play off each other.
Follow up on Roquan too. How have you seen his coverage skills kind of come into their own this year?
Yeah, I think he's gaining confidence, with every game and every week of practice. Mark's done a great job with him from a technique standpoint. And you just see the growth in coverage, last week dropping, making the play on the tight end. So definitely feel very, very confident in him playing backs out of the backfield, matching up with tight ends and things like that. So again, time on task is helping him.
Kevin Fishbane.
Hey, Chuck, I'm wondering if Mario Edwards was the guy that you had noticed at some point throughout his career, and then what has he brought to your defensive line?
Yeah, again, we talked about rough riders. He's a rough rider. Now this guy is he's a hard charger. He's athletic. He's twitchy. He's not the biggest guy, obviously, in the room, but he will go in there. And he will do the dirty work for you. He will fight and he will scrap. But then when it comes to third down, he's been really productive affecting the quarterback. He gives you really, really meaningful snaps in there. He's got the right mindset. He's definitely a monster of the midway, type guy. So we're lucky to have him.
Couple more for Coach. Colleen Kane.
Hey, Chuck, we know Eddie Jackson is kind of itching for opportunities to make plays this year, and then two that he does get called back. What have you seen from him just in terms of level of anxiousness or maybe frustration to make some of those plays?
He's done a phenomenal job, Colleen, of staying patient, and not, it would be real easy because you guys can see it, we can feel it, that frustration of, not once, not twice, but I think 3 times now in his career where, pick sixes, fumble recoveries, touchdown scored have been called back. I think Sean looked up a stat. I think it's the most on one player since 1999 in the National Football League that's happened to. So he's doing a really good job of just staying the course. Don't press, things are going to happen. Those aren't, in his control. So go back to the, control the controllables. You just keep playing, you just keep doing your thing. You stay patient and, eventually, one of those is going to work out. He's going to get in the end zone and not have to worry about looking back and seeing if there's, a flag on the ground. and actually get to a cell. They had a really, really cool celebration. They got together with the D-back coaches and they had a really cool celebration plan. And I know that thing started and then, somebody threw a wet blanket on the fire and that fire was put out pretty quick. But we just keep telling them, have a plan because it's going to happen again. So let's make sure we get a good plan. So how we're going to celebrate.
One more, Sean Hammond.
Hey, Chuck, looking at the Rams, they've really ramped up how much motion they're using before the snap and really at the snap. What kind of challenge does that provide for you guys on the defense?
Yeah, I think if you allow it, again, I think it all starts with me, and I've got to do a great job of putting these guys in position to where they can just get their cleats in the ground, get lined up, get their eyes right, and kind of keep this, this offense corralled, if you will. Good edges up front, good edges in the back end, because it can get you sideways. It can get you cross-eyed. It's boom, 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 and they do as good a job as I've ever seen anybody. Sean, I mean, just a phenomenal job because it's precise, it's precision, and they will tempo you and they will run to the ball, and that's 10 going this way and 17 coming back and 17 going this way, and then the ball snapped right behind the quarterback, and then there's a tight end coming back. And so from a run fit standpoint, it challenges you, because those change. So whoever's in the box, whether you got 7 in the box, you got 8 in the box, it doesn't matter. All those guys got to be in concert and singing out the same hymnal and flowing right. Otherwise, because if one guy sees it this way and the other one goes this way, you've got a gaping hole in the middle of your defense. And then they don't hand it off and they pull it and it's play action pass. And then you got routes running vertically up the field all over the place, and then trying to match those up. So it's going to be a huge challenge.
Me out to the ball game, Hall of Famer Andre Dawson.
All right. Let's hear it from the greatest fans ever. On 3. 1, 2, 3. Take me out to the ball game. Take me out to the crowd. Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jacks. I don't care if I ever get back Forest Root. Root for the Cubbies. If they don't win, it's a shame. For it's 1, 2, 3 strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Hey, let's get some runs. Thank you.
Still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave? Oh, the land of the free and the home of the brave. relax, reset, rejuvenate. Go to our link right now to restart your life. TheRewindSports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60.